Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, General Milley, for your service to our country and for your willingness to be considered for this position. I really enjoyed our visit last week when we met. I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better. I want to first join my colleagues in condemning the deplorable attacks against our service members in Chattanooga last week. I pray for the friends, family members, and the colleagues of the 5 service members who lost their lives, and I pray for a quick recovery for those who were injured. The attacks in Chattanooga last week were the latest in a string of deadly assaults on military personnel and facilities in the United States, including Fort Hood and the Navy Yard, as well as a number of attacks that were planned, but that, quite fortunately, were disrupted before they could be carried out. In the coming months, I hope our military leaders in Congress can work together and work in an efficient and effective manner to figure out how we can better protect our men and women in uniform from these types of attacks in the future. One of the concerns that I've heard repeatedly from service members in Utah and elsewhere is that they feel inadequately informed by military leadership about some of the persistent threats against themselves, their families, and the facilities where they happen to work. They see threats on the news or through social media, but they don't feel like they've been given enough information about what's being done to protect them or proper guidance on how to protect themselves at or away from their workplace. General, what's your assessment of how such information is being disseminated through the Army? And if confirmed, what you might do to improve the effectiveness of information and guidance that's coming from Army leadership on these threats to our homeland and to our service members in particular?
Senator, unfortunately, in today's world, there's no rear area in this battle against the terrorists of ISIS or any other terrorist organization. And the rear area of the United States is in fact vulnerable. And we have to do a better job at making sure that vulnerability assessments and information awareness is out there with our soldiers and their families. There's no doubt in my mind we have to increase that throughout the force, throughout the total Army, and indeed throughout the entire military. There's things like what to look for, signs, indicators and warnings of reconnaissance and surveillance by enemy, by the terrorists on a particular compound or against a particular person. Unfortunately, though, a lot of these type of attacks are very ambiguous. This one in Chattanooga may or may not have had recon ahead of time or any kind of indicators ahead of time, may or may not have been a lone wolf. We don't know yet. It's too early in the investigation. But a lot of times these things are very ambiguous. So both active and passive defensive measures at all of our installations, with all of our families, with all of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, is going to be a necessary requirement in the current environment.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your insight on that. I next wanted to follow up on some questions that Senator Wicker asked and some comments that he made. Among the most contentious issues in this committee over the past 2 years has involved the Army's aviation restructuring initiative. Now, I understand the Army has been put in a difficult position by budget reductions, and over the past several years has been exploring a number of options to maximize combat power while at the same time figuring out how to cut costs. Congress has similarly been taking a hard look at this, which is why the Commission on the Structure of the Army was established in the NDAA. If confirmed, will you commit to thoroughly reviewing the Army's aviation restructuring initiative and working closely with Congress once the Commission report's delivered next year to help us figure out the best path forward on Army structure issues?
Absolutely will, and I look forward to reviewing that Commission report.
And what do you think are the biggest threats that, should you be confirmed, you'll have to prepare the Army to address in the coming decade?
I think the Army's fundamental mission of engaging in ground combat, winning in ground combat, I think that mission remains sound, and I anticipate that mission will remain so in the future. The three key tasks in the national security documents that are out there is to assure allies, deter opponents, and if necessary, fight and win on the ground. And all of those are going to be challenges in the years ahead as we go forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see my time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.